Strap yourself in,
because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
You are watching Leicester Till I Die TV.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here. Now be sure to watch Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV by subscribing on YouTube and following them on social media for all the latest Leicester City news and information. Come on you foxes!
Hello fellow Fox fans, it's Wednesday evening. It can only mean one thing. It can mean it's the transfer show with me and Mark, and you are watching Leicester Till I Die TV. You are indeed, and it's Wednesday night, and you can find us on YouTube if you want to watch us live on YouTube. It's Leicester Till I Die TV. On Periscope and Twitter, it's at Leicester TID, and on Facebook, it is the Leicester Till I Die group. On YouTube and on Periscope, let us know your comments. It will come up with your name. Facebook, we want your comments as well. Please click on the StreamYard link. That way we can see who we're talking to. If you don't want to do that, just add your name at the end, and then we know, we're not speaking just to a Facebook user. If you want to catch us up after the show, you can do so, like I say, obviously on YouTube. You can also listen to us rather than watch us on the podcasts. Google, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, to name just a few, and that's Leicester Till I Die. You can find us under. All down the side. There we go, or that side even. There we go, on your left. That's where you can find us. Transfer window, rather quiet still. Not a lot going on. None in yet, one out. What are your thoughts? Let us know. Good evening to the Bronze Plumber. How the devil are you, sir? Welcome along. Thanks for joining us. Let us know what you think of the transfer window. We're going to be looking, I'd say, with Mark at some of the links of players who we might be after. Let us know your thoughts on them as we go through. And, of course, there is one big out today, finally. Bit of a loss on him, though, we made, didn't we? But he's gone. We'll be coming on to our favourite striker later. But in the meantime, let me bring him in and say good evening to Mark. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, Chris. How are we doing? Good evening, everybody.
I'm getting there. How the devil are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. And you said a small loss on Slimani. I think we lost all we spent when he went on a free.
A little bit of sarcasm was in my voice. It obviously didn't come over. Yes, I always say this, and we will obviously come on to. Okay, I tell you what. Let's start with Islam because he's there. So let's get the elephant in the room out the way first. £30 million, like you say, we lost on him. If we were a business, other than football, we'd be out of business, wouldn't we?
Yeah, we would. But then you've got to look at it the other way, Chris. And we've been trying to offload him for a bit of time now. Nobody's coming for him. They're only prepared to loan him and all stuff like this. Some of them we had to pay part of the wages for. It's clearly to play under Brendan Rodgers. He wasn't playing under the one before. So we've got him off the wage bill. I think that's the main thing. I think he was on a good whack. So, yes, it's 30 million lost as such because we didn't really get a lot out of him for that 30. It'll be a bit more easier to swallow if he'd been in the team and scored us a few goals and whatnot. But he hasn't, has he? But his wage bill's off the wage bill now. So it's good in that respect because it might free up somebody to come in.
Well, this is always the advantage, isn't it? We have got those wages to go now, and I suppose technically that's football for you, isn't it? You know, but I mean, I'm just looking. You know, he signed. He was one of Ranieri's signings, and not many of those are still with us. Let's just put it that way. As much as we love the guy, August 2016, signed for 5 years, which is why he's going now. He came with high hopes. I mean, obviously a teammate of the god that was Riyad Mahrez at the time. He did come with high hopes, and I was looking at his scoring record for Sporting Lisbon. He got 27 goals in 33 games there. I mean, do you know, or can you imagine what went wrong for him at Leicester?
Yeah, I can. It's the Premiership. That's what it is. His game suits European football. I was buzzing when we signed him. I really was. I thought, oh, this is quality. This is, and I was quite happy about it. But I mean, I'm still upset that he's gone now because I still think he could have done the job, but he just doesn't suit our style of play. And I think the Premiership's too quick for him. He's a bit lumbersome up top, isn't he? He's a bit lumbersome. He can get his head on the ball, but it just doesn't. I mean, when he came under Ranieri, we were playing counter-attack football, and that doesn't suit him. Now we're playing a more direct passing, getting the balls in to feet and quick movement. Doesn't suit him. I think he's been unlucky, to be honest, because he's always had Vardy there. He was always going to play second fiddle to him, but he wasn't even used as the option B. Do you know what I mean? That's what was just to lump him on like an Andy Carroll type player. So I just think it was the speed of the Premiership, and it just didn't suit his game. He's just too lumbersome up front. Whereas in Italy or Spain or somewhere like that, you've got a bit of time and it suits him better. And I'm pretty sure he'll go on and score a bag full of goals for Lyon.
I mean, do you think the writing was on the wall within really 12 months? Because within 12 months later, we went out and we bought Kelechi Iheanacho from Man City. So, you know, when you've got three strikers there, one that's in Jamie Vardy that's worth more than 30 million. You've got Slimani who was 30. I think was Kelechi not 30 odd as well. You've got over 90 million pounds worth of strikers there. You don't need three strikers at that sort of money, do you?
No, not really. I'm not sure Kelechi was 30 million. I think we paid 15. I might be wrong.
Or was it 15? Was it? Okay, yeah. That might be the buyback. That might be the buyback clause that Man City had got in. Yeah.
Even buying Kelechi Iheanacho, he's still not the same type of player as Slimani. So it wasn't like they were gearing up to like replace him in that respect. We just never played to his strength. I do feel for the lad to be fair because he hasn't really been given a fair crack of the whip, and I bet he's pleased as mustard to be going over there now and getting out away from us because we haven't treated him well, I don't think, and we've never played to his strength. We've always played a different type of football. It hasn't suited him.
And is that down then to Ranieri? I mean, Ranieri, he'll always be a god as far as every Leicester fan's concerned for what he did. But obviously all managers have their faults. And, you know, he didn't, or his team, if you like, including him, didn't do well. Having won the Premier League, we should have been getting some really good players in. And Slimani, amongst one or two others, didn't, you know, fulfill what the potential they should have done.
No, I mean, I wouldn't blame Ranieri, if I'm honest. I don't think he was the one that brought him. I'm pretty sure it was the scouting network and the owners that decided to go for him. I don't think it was a Ranieri buy. And I don't think he was buying a lot of the players while he was there. I think it was the scouting network that we've got. So we've gone out and looked at this guy and we wanted him at the club. But we haven't. It's like giving somebody a job and then not utilising them in the right way, and then getting rid of them after a trial period when it's not their fault as such. And I don't think he's done much wrong. I don't know if he's a bad egg. Like I think we talked about it last week, didn't we? Is he a bad egg, and has he got that side to him? I'm not sure. I just don't know why it's gone wrong for him. But he'll be glad that he's gone. I'm okay with it. He's off the wage bill, and I'm sure there's space now for somebody else to come in.
I mean, you say that about Ranieri, and I take it on board that quite often it's where the coach stroke manager role, isn't it? But if you're managing that team, would you not have the final say, surely, on players that have come in? I mean, you've been a manager in your job, haven't you, in the past? I've been a team leader, and I wouldn't imagine bringing anybody in on my team that I didn't at some point have a say in. You know, maybe it's the final selection, but I think at some point, the manager's got to sort of have the final say on the players they pick in, for the team that he's going to be running.
You'd like to think so. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I don't think he had much to do with that particular transfer. I might be wrong. I might be barking up the wrong tree. And he would have had a say. He would have given a list of names to the scouting network, and I'm sure they had a list of names for him to look at. And I think we don't know what was going on at that time, who we were looking at, whether we failed with anybody or who we were putting in bids in. But along he came, and at the end of the day, he came, and he wanted to play for us. And he's not been used right. He's not been able to, because he's a good player. I do believe he's a good player. He plays well for Algeria. He's good in the air. And I don't think we've done him a justice, to be honest. But it's done now. He's gone. And the main thing for me is, the good thing about this for me is, with his wage bill, with his wage gone off the wage bill, I'm pretty sure we might see another striker coming now, which is quite exciting.
It is. I'm waiting to see who we're going to be linked with. And it's No, I've forgotten my words now. We're not being linked with anybody, which is a surprise, because usually by this stage half the team's been linked out of the club. So Steve Collins here says he's got a fair point. With Steve Walsh left for Everton, things went askew with signings. I think we're slowly getting back there now. I think we can have a look at things are improving on that. 2 points I just wanted to make was, and we one that you mentioned there was his attitude, in the fact that he's gone to all these clubs, and you're saying at Leicester 3 managers there, so you had 4. You had Ranieri, you had Shakespeare, you had Puel, you had Rodgers. That's 4 managers, none of which for whatever reason fancied him. And they all play different styles. So, it's not just one manager not wanting him in the team. There's 4. And then he went, well, where didn't he go out on loan to? He went Newcastle United, Fenerbahce. And in Monaco, he scored 9 goals in 18 outings there.
I mean, when he's gone out on loan, I mean, the clubs abroad, he's bagged some goals from.
Yeah. But they still didn't want him, though. They still didn't want him. That's the thing.
Newcastle, he didn't score goals. And that's why the Premiership was just not his gig. I just think it was too much for him, because when he's gone abroad, he has put goals in. And you're right, he did do well at Monaco, but they still didn't want to buy him. So it just leads you to, I don't think the Premiership is right for him. And I think he's got a bit of an attitude, by the sounds of it, with the other lads. Yeah.
Well, moving on. I mean, Craig, just very quickly. Good evening, Craig. How are you, sir? I hope you're well. Excuse me. Love Slimani. Hope he does well. Linked heavily with Eduardo at Celtic again. Funny should mention that. We'll be coming on to that quite soon. I just want to mention Rudkin here, John Rudkin, because he takes a lot of stick when we get the sign. We make a bad signing, or we're not making any signings. It's always Rudkin's fault. Rudkin's that. But he never gets any sort of praise when we, have good signings. You've got to look at the last transfer window as being one of our more successful ones. We went for quality rather than quantity, and we got it right. And sometimes I think Rudkin does get the rough end of the stick.
He's the guy that everybody loves to hate, isn't it? Yeah. Every club's got one, and it just shows ours is Woodkin. It's just one of them things. I've got nothing to say bad against the fella, to be honest.
No. Well, as Craig very, very kindly led us in there, let's have a look at the aforementioned gentleman who is being linked heavily again now. Odds on Eduardo. 30 million, is it that we're being quoted for him?
That's the figure, yeah. Last transfer window, we was heavily linked with him. I blogged on him. I remember blogging on him. I said at the time he's worth a gamble, and then I got backlash saying, "No, he can score goals in the Scottish Prem, but we can't do it here." Well, we don't know till we try. But
what have we just said about Slimani?
Exactly. I mean, I was talking to some fans on a thread earlier, and Odson Eduardo come up. I think I was talking to Danny. So Danny, if you're watching, hello mate. You said you were going to be watching, and we talked about him. And he's not keen on him coming. Some people are, some people are not. I mean, Danny was mentioning Giroud and people like this. Eduardo plays very similar to Jamie Vardy. And this is why I think it might happen. Because we're set up for Jamie Vardy. That is what we're set up for. That is what the rest of the team complements, is Jamie Vardy. And Eduardo is very similar player. And I think that's why we're being linked. Obviously, Rodgers knows him. He's seen him close up. Rodgers is no fool, so if he thinks he's good enough for us, then that's good enough for me. And he looks the part. He does look the part. 30 million. It's not a lot. It's not nowadays. It's not really a lot, is it? 30 million pounds.
Well, we've just written 30 million off almost, haven't we? So yeah.
Get him on a cheaper wage than what Slimani was on. So you say there, and I think we've got. If we can get him in, we'll have a little gem on our hands there.
The problem is with any signing is you're not going to please everybody all of the time, and we have to kind of cap our own enthusiasm. At the end of the day, we are still, and I hate saying only Leicester City, but in truth, we still are only Leicester City. Do we have the pulling power? And we've got to be honest here of a Newcastle or a Everton even, and that looking outside of the top 6 big names, those are clubs that have got a history. We've only just started our history, so we're not necessarily going to get the big names that are going to. The same with managers as well, isn't it? We've got to sort of temper it. And do we go out and buy the big names, like you say, the Giroud or somebody like that? And I wouldn't necessarily be disappointed if we got him, but this guy, Eduardo, he's not that old, I don't think. He's still on the young side.
One, I think, or 22 maybe.
Exactly. And, you sometimes think, like, out of those players that we'd signed last summer, how many of those had we heard of before we'd signed them?
Yeah, correct. You got Mahrez. You'd heard of Mahrez. You'd heard of Kante. Yeah. They were all players that were brought in. But I call bollocks to the fact that we can't pull the big players in, because we can. We couldn't. We've got no history. You're right. We've got no history. You're right. But I think if a young player coming through that's got a bit about them, and they've got Newcastle, who you mentioned, and Leicester.
I agree with the young players. No, I agree with the young players. I'm on about the named players. The big names.
Let's just say this guy, Eduardo. We put a bid in, and Newcastle put a bid in. Similar, and they've both been accepted. I guarantee you he's coming to us. I guarantee you, regardless of what history Newcastle have got and what their fan base is, he's coming to us, because we are set up to be going further and further year on, year out. We've got fantastic owners, we've got fantastic training facilities, and I guarantee you he'd come to us. So I think them days are slowly being put behind us, where we can't attract top draw players. And I heard an interview with Rodgers a few days ago now. He was saying, we're not going to go out and spend 50, 60, 70 million pound on a player, because that's not what we're set up for. Maybe in the future that will be the case. Yeah. But we look for, the gem, the uncut gem that needs polishing. That's what we're looking for. And Eduardo is one of them. Now, when his name's been mentioned again this week, it's been mentioned again, and I've got a funny feeling that he's coming. I really do think he's going to be coming. I think it's more than a hearsay. I think now Slimani's gone, it's been, Brendan Rodgers has said now that probably, we've got a bit of room for somebody else now with him off the wage bill. I reckon we could see him coming in fairly soon.
All right, let's just have a look what people are saying. The bronze plumber, Islam is a sensible unsigning. I've not heard it called that before, but I know what you mean, mate. Why have players that have no play? Chowdhury seems unplaced also, so maybe he could raise a few shekels. Is Demarai Gray still on the books? We don't know about Chowdhury. Maybe there's rumours, and Demarai Gray could be on the way out this window, possibly. Craig makes the point you were making there. Every signing is a gamble. Hopefully not another Benkovic. Looks good in Scotland. Obviously on about Eduardo here. But yeah, every signing is a gamble. You know, even if they're Giroud, there's no guarantee, like I say, he's going to do it at our club. Slimani would have been a better player than Inacho if he'd been given a chance, a different plan than Vardy. 20 million max for Celtic forward. It's only second division standard. Rob, hiya, Rob. How are you doing? But it's like I get what you're saying there, Rob. But it's like buying, if we buy a player from the champ, you know, we buy James Justin, right? He's lower down. He's doing fine in the Premier League. Like you say, it is a gamble, but you got to trust the manager and trust his staff to pick those gambles, to take those gambles, haven't you?
Well, this is it. But what you've got to remember is, guys, that Brendan Rodgers has seen this go close up. He was there when Brendan Rodgers was there. So he knows how he's seen him close up. He knows that it would be a good signing. And it's not just us that are interested in this guy. There's a lot of big clubs across Europe interested in him. I've seen AC Milan mentioned. I've seen a lot of big clubs mentioned, to be honest, to get Singer. It's not all pie in the sky stuff. He's got something about him, this lad, and he's being recognised by other clubs, not just ourselves. And if Brendan Rodgers seen him close up and he still wants to sign him, then I guarantee he's got something about him. Will he score all the goals? We don't know. We don't know till he gets here, because he'll be playing second fiddle for the time being. But I think he's a better option coming off the bench than what we've got at the minute. So I'm all for it.
And I love the fact that you said, and you obviously you've studied him a lot more than I have, the fact that he's a similar style to Vardy as well.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. We're all set up for him. Yes. We're not going to change any play. So if Vardy gets injured in a game, we've got him sat on the bench. We don't have to do anything. It's all set up for that style of play anyway. I think it's in a treat here, especially now Slimani's gone. I think if we can get him in, even if it's 30 million, I'm happy. We lost 30 million on Slimani. We get somebody in for 30 million. I'd be happy if he comes in. I really would.
Yeah. Right. Let us. Oh, sorry. Just to finish on that one, you would hope as well with the Rodgers connection, because it was Rodgers just did not manage him. It was Rodgers that took him to Celtic. So if he enjoyed his time under Rodgers, fingers crossed. But moving on, and let's have a look who else we are going to be looking at this afternoon, this evening, this morning. Let's cover everything. Marcus Taverner. Now you mentioned this guy. What? Tell us about this gentleman.
So Marcus Taverner's is the younger brother of James Taverner, who's the captain of Rangers. Just a little snippet there for you. He's currently playing Neil Warnock at Middlesbrough. He's attacking midfielder. He's been playing on the right and the left, so he can be used all across the front three places, and he can play centre mid as well. He's a young lad. He's 21. He's getting rave reviews in the Championship. He's come on a lot last year. There's a lot of clubs after him, to be honest, and his name keeps getting mentioned, and he fits into what we do here. He's definitely a Brendan Rodgers sort of player, 21 years old, uncut diamond, needs polishing up. Do we need him? No, we don't. I don't think. I think this is. I wouldn't be unhappy if this one didn't come off. He's a player for the future, I think. Still, even at 21, I know he's into his career. But I don't think he's one for the future. I think if he wants to go somewhere, he needs to be playing. And I'm not sure he would with us. I'd be happy if we bought him. I'd be happy if we didn't. It's one of those. But he looks the part. He's played internationally for England, 19s and 20s. So he's one that's out there. And I think a few clubs at Everton are looking at him. I think Newcastle were looking at him as well. He's a good player. He's really come on the last year. That's what I've been reading. I just don't think we need him. I just don't think we need him.
You say he's 21. He fits into that young sort of player that we're looking for. He's versatile. He can play out, you just said, on either side, which seems to be, I think it's a great trait if you can have that. And we've already got sort of Castagna and Justin, Albrighton can do either side. You're saying we don't need him, and I take it on board. We're not exactly short in midfield, but we're going to be losing at some point Demarai Gray, whether that's this window or not. Hopefully it's this window. Otherwise, again, we might not get anything for him. Albrighton, a little bit maybe on the aging side, shall we say it nicely. Could he be brought in, like, and I know you say, he needs games straight away, but Under's injured at the moment. If Under's not going to work out, maybe we have got a space for him.
If Damari Gray goes, that's when it will happen. If Damari Gray gets sold this window, this is the guy that will come in. I'm certain of that, because it is a strong link. It is a very strong link we've got to him. It's all over the place if you go and search for it. Listen, there is a role for him. Maddison plays in the number 10 role, and this Marcus has been playing that for Middlesbrough.
Right.
Have we really got anybody to cover for James Maddison in the 10 role? I mean, who do you put there? Perez?
Pratt I would have said Pratt at one point, but of course he's out now for 3 months.
Finished Pratt, so maybe there's a space for him. It's one of those. I wouldn't mind if he came in. I'd be happy, but I wouldn't be bothered if he didn't. But it's the sort of player that we like. It's just how much you can get him for. Because I've been reading on him today, and I can't see any values on the guy or what sort of money's being mentioned, all sort of like that. But he looks a prospect, and there's a lot of clubs interested in him. If we can get him for 10, 15 million, bring him in. Yeah. But personally, for me, I think we've got enough in them areas.
Yeah. I always think as well, prices are always hiked in the January transfer window, because quite often they're panic buys, if you like, more often than not, aren't they, in the January window?
Yeah, and they've got Neil Warnock at the club. I mean, if he says I want him staying under any circumstances, I think he might get his way. But it depends. I don't know the financial situation at Middlesbrough. They might be one of their little gems that they can get rid of to raise some funds. I don't know. It is a strong link, though, so don't be surprised if Damari Gray goes, that this is the guy that replaces him.
Yes, yeah. Right. So moving on. I'll let you announce this guy, because I had trouble earlier on. Florian
Torvin.
Thank you. You know I hate this part of the show. I've got to say these names. That's why I think we should sign like Ollie Watkins and all these. Make my job a lot easier. He's been linked with us quite a while, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. And the reason we're having a look at him today is because on a lot of the threads, on a lot of the Leicester City sites, every time I open a Leicester City thread, it's people wanting this guy in. So I've done a bit of research and thought, do we need this guy in? Because everybody else seems to be raving about him. Oh, who do we need? Torvin. But do we? Do we really need Florian Torvin? He's played in the Premiership before with Newcastle, and it didn't work for him. I mean, he was shocking. Absolutely shocking. I think he made 15 appearances, scored 1 goal. He had a bust up with Alan Shearer over some tuxedo or something like that. He turned up for training in a tuxedo or something like that. So he fell out with Alan Shearer about it. I don't know. I don't know if this is the guy or not. He's currently playing for Marseille. He's been valued at about 20 million. If we were to buy him now. Now, this guy's contract runs out in 6 months' time. So, I mean, if we are interested in this player, I wouldn't want to go and spend 18, 20 million now. I'd rather wait until he's out of contract. And if he wants to come to us, then let him come when we can get him for nothing. Would
it work the same way as it works at this side? Like, can he talk to us and sign a pre-contract agreement for then?
Yeah, he can, yeah. I mean, AC Milan have already offered him a contract. So that looks like where he's going to be going. They've already offered him a contract at 3 million per season over 3 years. So he is allowed to talk to other clubs with the situation that he's in. Sevilla are interested as well. I just don't get it. I just don't get why Leicester City fans keep coming up with Torvin. He's the one. He's our saviour, because I can't see it myself.
It sounded when you were talking about him then, it reminded me, and his names I suppose might become a byword for this sort of player, but Slimani, like you say, not able to do it in this league, has gone to France and is doing it in France. My worry at that point is, would we be signing another Slimani? But then you're saying AC Milan, and I forget the other team, was it Sevilla, are after him. Now, they're no mugs, so he must have something about him, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah, listen, he's been playing well for Marseille. this year. I mean, he's tearing up trees. He's got rave reviews on what he's doing this season. He done nothing when he was here, and he's scoring goals and assisting goals over there. I mean, he was voted young player of the season when his first season at Marseille the first time round. I honestly think it's one of them that just can't cut it in the Premiership. The Premiership and the Liga and the Italian league, they're totally different kettles of fish. You know, yes, fans might see him doing wonderful stuff at Marseille, scoring goals, and he's up for a free. We've been linked with him, so get him in. It doesn't work like that because we're two different leagues. And for me, what I've read about the guy and what I've heard when he was at Newcastle, I've seen the guy play. And he's got something about him, obviously, because he's playing at a high level and he's got good teams after him. Yeah. Not for me, though. Not for me. I will be disappointed if this one comes in. Especially
Steve Collins here just said 3 months at Newcastle. Newcastle sent him back on loan to his parent club. Lost 5 million after 6 months selling him back. That said, Craig makes a very, very good point here. Salah or De Bruyne didn't make it in the Prem first time. That's a fair point. You got to say, look at them now.
Fair point, and it's taken, and it's quite right. But what for me, the reason I wouldn't want him coming, especially in this window, is I wouldn't want to pay 18-20 million pounds for him. I'd rather have the lad at Middlesbrough over this guy. Yes, he's got some medals and he plays for France and all this kind of thing. But if his contract ends in 6 months' time and we register an interest in him, if he wants to come and he shows that desire to come and play for Leicester City, then get him in on a free. But I wouldn't want to pay.
Oh, I agree totally. And I'm not sure. I heard it earlier today, I think, or late last night. There was one Premier League club, and because they need to get rid of somebody, a bit like us with Slimani, they've actually halved their asking price and reduced it from 18 million to 9 million overnight to go. I mean, you know, it's scary when you come to think you can just, it's only 9 million, let's just write 9 million off. But yeah, I agree totally with you. Why pay 18's a hell of a lot of money to pay out when there's the chance, if we do want him, to get him for a free. As Craig said there, makes sense to wait. And let's see. And it isn't necessarily, like you say, another position that we're desperate for at the moment.
I mean, the reason we're talking about him is I just keep seeing his name mentioned all the time in Leicester Feds, and I just don't see it. For me, I don't see it. I mean, other people might see something different. I just can't. I'll be baffled as if they put a bid in for 18-20 million. I just won't be able to understand it when we've got enough in them positions anyway, and we're linked with a 21-year-old hot prospect from Middlesbrough.
And I think that across the midfield and wingers and what have you, we have got under there. Yeah. Craig's put here, not sure Rogers fancies under, but would like an Albrighton replacement. I mean, it's very. I know you're not Under's biggest fan here, but you know, again, I don't think that position will necessarily be looked at until the end of the season, because we have got Under there. Presumably, we're paying his wages, and we'll wait to see whether he works out or not. And if he doesn't and he goes, then we'll need to bring somebody else in if we're losing Gray as well.
You're quite right. I mean, I'm not Under's biggest fan. I've seen him play a few times. I was willing to give him a chance, but I've seen enough to know that I don't think we'd sign him at the end of the season. And Craig's right. I don't think Brendan Rodgers does have a lot of faith in him, and that is why I came to my decision, really, because I can see that he doesn't, because he's been available to be selected on certain games and he hasn't. He's only started a couple of games. He's got something about him yet, and he'll be back from injury soon. So he's another one in that position. I don't think we need to go out and spend silly money, especially in this window, on somebody for 20 million when we've got more than enough there to cope. I mean, the big one's going to be a backup for Jamie Vardy. I think that is a necessity. When I was talking on the thread earlier, we didn't sign anybody last season at this time apart from the loanee in defence, and we tailed off and we had no backup, and it was just Jamie Vardy trying to get us to where we needed to be. It would be nice to have somebody to call on should Jamie Vardy get injured or should we need to change a game, that we can maintain this till the end of the season. I think I'd love to get a couple of players in, a striker, and maybe across the front three, But I wouldn't want to be paying 20 million for a guy that's been in the Premiership before and didn't.
Craig says that it's interesting that we use an OH11 more to give one of our younger players experience. Well, yeah, they are our sister club now, officially, and that's what you have these clubs for. And let's face it, that's a model that's used a lot on the continent, where you have sister clubs, smaller clubs that you send players out on loan to. We seem to be playing a lot of players' wages who don't play. I think us and many other clubs as well. Todd Cantwell, he's gone quiet on him this window, but we've had a look at the ins, we've had a look at the outs. We're going to have a look at the shake it all abouts now, and we will be straight back after this.
You are watching Leicester Till I Die TV with Chris and Chums. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Pinterest. All you need for everything Leicester City FC. It's Leicester Till I Die TV. Now available on Spotify.
Okay, so you've asked to bring this guy up. Kieran Dewsbury-Hall. Currently obviously with ourselves. Is he at Luton at the moment?
He's gone to Luton, and he's tearing up trees for Luton. He's playing really well. And the two guys that we've just looked at, Taverna and Torvin, they play exactly the same positions as what this young lad does. But this lad's a bit more versatile. He can play anywhere in midfield. He can play across the front three. He can play a holding midfield role. He could play box to box. And he's come through our youth system. Now he's gone on. We did see him at the back end of last year, if you can remember. Yeah. He played in a couple of games and he did not look out of place. And when I first saw him, I thought, wow, he looks the business. He's gone on loan to Luton and he's tearing up trees. He's getting assist after assist after assist. I think he's got a goal for him as well.
Yeah.
Nathan Jones is in charge of Luton, and he said what a wonderful player he is, that we've got a gem on our hands here. And I've seen recently, because there is a little bit of talk that we might be recalling him, which might rule out the other two that we've mentioned today anyway, which is the way I would rather it be. Why spend money when we've got a lad like him that can slot in if needed? He's getting a lot of rave reviews in the Championship. Nathan Jones loves him, and he's been a bit naughty this week, saying that he doesn't need to go back to Leicester. He's learning his trade here. He's trying everything he can to keep hold of this guy. I would not be disappointed if we got this guy back in, get him onto the team sheet, get him on the bench and give him some games, because it sounds like he's a bit of a player and we can use him towards the end of the season, and he'll be one ready to go at the start of next season. So why spend 20 million when you've got one of your own that can do the job?
I mean, Andy, I think if you're referring to myself there, you've got more faith in me than I have. I'll tell you, if I couldn't play well at Accrington Stanley, let alone Luton Town. I mean, I do feel sometimes as a club, you get pilloried, and I'm up there. Don't get me wrong. I fall into this category that we need to buy somebody. We need to buy somebody. Look at last January, how bad it was. It was how we caused our own problems because we didn't sign anybody. But like you say, when you have got players that are coming through, Chelsea didn't do so bad when they couldn't sign players and had to bring young players through. Now they've gone out and spent millions and millions and millions, and they're doing no better than when they were playing with the youngsters. But, you get to the point, I think, sometimes as fans, where it's like we have to sign somebody for 20 million, otherwise we've had a shit window, where you can bring a Harvey Barnes back, you can bring a Kieran Dewsbury-Hall back. They've got to start somewhere, haven't they? Wayne Rooney, a big signing for Man United, but at Everton, they were probably like, who? when he first broke through.
Yeah, of course. I mean, let's not forget, Brendan had a look at him at the end of last season, and he did play him in a couple of matches. Now, Brendan's obviously thought that Kieran needs to go out on loan to get some match experience, which is probably the right call. And I think he's been quite surprised, and people have been quite surprised just how well he's doing at that level, because he is, and it's not just because he's one of our own, he is getting all the plaudits at the minute, in midfield. Yes, it might well just be Luton, but let's not forget, Luton are in the Championship and they're playing good teams week in, week out, Norwich's and, all of them. And he's looking head and shoulders above the rest of them. And I think Brendan's probably took a step back and thought, hold on a minute, especially without Dennis Pratt being injured. And this is why it's come up. And I think out of all the people we've talked about tonight, I think it's more likely that Kiernan will come back than we sign anybody else in that position. That will be my call anyway. I think we'll get a striker in, and we'll recall somebody like Kieran Dewsbury Hall. And I'd rather that happen, to be honest, than especially Torvin coming in. I wouldn't mind the lad Taverner coming in, but I'd rather see one of our own come back, get a chance, because he's proved himself now that he can play at a good level, rather than going and spend 20 million on some has-been that's done no good in the Premiership anyway.
I mean, I'm a lot older than you are, young man, but I can remember that I used to call Leicester. This was when we were in the old, the second tier. Let's just call it the second tier, and we used to buy players that were sort of on the way out, if you like, on the way down. There's, the Dennis Wises, the who was the Arsenal defender? He's a pundit now. I can't think of his name, but all these named players that basically looked and said, "Oh, Leicester want me. That's one last payday." But with the financial situations, and we've just taken out another loan today with an Australian bank, and with this situation, with our owners being in the position they're in with COVID and the fact that they're in the tourism, if we can bring players through and buy one and bring two through rather than having to buy three, it's got to be. Yes, somebody just reminded me here. Roger Davis. Oh my God! Yes. Moving on. It's got to be better for the club as a whole, hasn't it?
Of course it is. Our owners, they're not stupid. They're filthy rich, but they're good at business.
That was it. Martin Keown. Sorry, that was it.
Yeah, of course, yeah. It's highly more likely that we're going to get one of our own back in. And that's what people are saying. You've got to remember, the likes of Florian Torvin and Taverner and people like this, they've all got agents, and Leicester are a good club that fits these roles, that may be looking for some type of this player. So a lot of it's agents talking and putting names out there that we're linked. Sure. And we're probably not even linked. And yeah, 100%, I'd rather get one of our own back than, and I think that is likely to happen. We're not silly. We don't go out spending unnecessary money, apart from Iniacho. But yeah,
and Slimani, of course, and Slimani. It is, and you look at these players, and Luke Thomas. I mean, he's probably saved us a bit of money in that position for himself. It's like you say, I fall into the trap as much as anybody else. It's a transfer window. We've got to buy. But I think Chelsea, as I said, last season showed exactly the reason why you don't always need to go out and buy. And yet they still did when they had a chance. We're going to look now. So we've looked at the ins, the outs and the recalls. We're going to have a quick look now at past January transfer windows and who we've got in straight after this.
Hi, Alan Smith here. Be sure to watch and listen to Chris on Leicester Till I Die TV. You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels. Up the Foxes!
Thank you, Alan. So we're going to look at just 4 quick players who we signed or we loaned in the January transfer windows and see whether they were fails, whether they were successes, or were they ones that got away. We've got to start with this guy, really. Probably the best January transfer window signing, certainly for Leicester, and I would tend to say a lot of other clubs as well. And I know it all ended a bit sour, but my God, what a January signing he was.
Yeah, definitely a hit. What was he, 400,000, something like that? £400,000, and we made. Well, we got all the feedback, didn't we? I don't know what Man City, 60 million.
60 million, I think it was, if my memory serves me right. But again, it was another that you sort of went like, who?
Yeah, nobody had heard of him. Let's be honest, nobody had heard of him. And even when he started playing, he was rusty at the start, and we thought, oh bloody hell. But no, what a signing that was. I mean, that's the way to do business, isn't it? Sign somebody for 400,000, get a good few years out of them, win a trophy or two, and then sell them on for £60 million. That's the way.
And it's a lot better than buying somebody a lot older that you're not going to get you're paying for them for the name of who they or their history, and then you're not going to get anything for them when you sell them on because they're going to be that old that nobody wants them. In fairness,
Yeah,
so I think we can definitely say he was a success then.
Oh, definitely a success. I don't think there's not one Leicester fan that would say anything other than that.
There we go. That's a success meme there.
Oh,
So going on, let's just go back 12 months. Ryan Bennett. He was only on loan. Did we? I still don't understand why we got him. Were we short at that point at the back?
That's what I was just about to say. Unnecessary. We didn't need him. He played a few games, to be fair, though, so we might well have needed him because he did. Just unnecessary in my book. He's not really a hit or a miss. I can't really do the lad an injustice and say he was a miss, because when he did play, he didn't really do a lot wrong. He was just one of those that came and went and was unnecessary, and it's just a name that we can put down as played for Leicester City, I suppose.
I think he for whatever reason, when we signed him, and when you're not getting into Wolves' first team, you've got to sort of question
exactly
why we went for him. And I mean, he went back and straight back out again. I think the poor guy, he wasn't brilliant for us. He didn't pull trees up, but then again, he didn't, kick somebody in the goal a la Sonshu and what have you. So I think he just got tarred with the fact that we didn't sign anybody else. We only signed him.
Yeah, definitely. It was unnecessary. He definitely wasn't a hit. So we'll have to put him down as a miss, I'm afraid.
I think we are. And I love this. And he's got to go down as a miss just so that I can play this meme. I tell you, I absolutely love that. Somebody just said Cambiasso, but he wasn't a January transfer window signing. He came in at the start, so he doesn't get a mention, I'm afraid. Coming or going? Probably going. Damari Gray. He was a January transfer window, but we tried for him in the summer, hadn't we? If I remember.
Yeah, we had. He's one of them players that we did try really hard to get. Yeah. We wanted him. It was one of them players that was on our radar, and we were going to do everything to get him. Has he been a hit or a miss, or one that got away? You'd have to say miss because he's not playing and all that kind of thing. But I think we might just get a bit of egg on our face, and when he does go, it might be then put in the bracket of one that got away. Yeah, that's how I see it. We've got to put him down as a miss, I'm afraid.
I think a miss at the moment, but the potential to be one, you say, one that got away, which is great because I can play this thing. I could play this all night. I absolutely love it. That is just honestly, what ref? I never touched him. And finally for tonight, this guy, and I think I put him in, like you say, sometimes you get players that it just doesn't work out for. In a way, is not given a chance. And to me, this guy was never, ever given a chance. And that's Andre Kramaric.
Yeah, he's exactly the same as Damari Gray. He's not a hit for us. He wasn't a hit, but he wasn't used properly. He wasn't given a good run in the team. So he has to go down as a miss. But on hindsight, he's definitely one that's got away. But he might, like you just said, he might fall into that category of just can't handle the Premiership, how quick it is, or whatever it might be. I'm pretty sure he could now because he's a lot more experienced now.
Yeah.
If we went to sign him tomorrow, I'd be happy. I'd be pleased as punch.
I would. But, I would definitely have him back. I think, unfortunately, I mean, we signed him, I think, when we got promoted to the Premier League.
Yeah.
And I always remember, and I think I said this on a recent show, and I forget who it was with, possibly with Craig, that I can remember watching our team, and we never lost, we never got stuffed. It was always close games. We were putting fights up, but it always seemed that as soon as we got sort of to the edge of the box, nobody wanted to shoot. In the case of, they were passing it, trying to find somebody else. Nobody would take that responsibility. When he came on, yeah, all right, he didn't always score, but at least he was prepared to have a shot, and he had the potential. But I think, unfortunately, Vardy came through. We had Nugent at that point. We had Chris Wood. We weren't short of strikers, and but I think looking at it, I think he unfortunately he was one that got away.
Yeah, he is one that got away. He definitely is one that got away. He was played wrong. That's one that got away. Fantastic clip.
Yeah,
but he's the sort of player that could do a job in that number 10 role.
Yeah.
As an option rather than Maddison. When we're talking about Taverner coming in, is there a place for him? I don't think there is, etc., etc. I'd welcome back Cramrich with open arms. He's definitely one that got away.
A World Cup finalist, of course.
Exactly, yeah. You could tell that he had something about him when he was here.
Yes.
I saw of him and the quality of him, and it was frustrating when he went. I think a lot of Leicester fan sites, his name does come up quite a lot as one that's got away. So he's definitely one that's got away, but we might have a look at him later on, maybe.
I mean, it's interesting to think how much he might cost us now if we. I think he was about 10 when we bought him the first time. 10 million, not 10 years old, of course. 10 million pounds, but yeah, unfortunately, he is one. Does this look a bit like Harry Redknapp to you?
It does, yeah.
Harry Redknapp making his January transfer window signing. Mark, great show as always. Great knowledge. Thank you very much for all your hard work in preparing for that and coming up. Basically, we've agreed there. Craig Cramrich is definitely Rogers type. Stephen Collins, Cramrich there. One that got away. There's a couple of names coming up. Yori, of course, is one. There's another 5 or 6 that I could have brought up, but we'd be here till midnight, and Mark's got better things to do than look at me all night. So, Mark, I am going to say thank you very much.
No problem, mate. Thanks a lot. Cheers, guys. Cheers, everybody watching.
And we will see you next Wednesday.
Yeah, will do. Cheers, Chris.
All right, take care. Look after yourself. And thanks to Mark for joining us there. And thanks to all you guys for joining us. Don't forget, you can catch this up on YouTube at Leicester Till I Die TV, and if you give us half an hour, we will be up there on your favourite podcast, be that Google, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, or many other podcast platforms. Whichever your favourite one is, Leicester Till I Die, you will find us there. And of course, we are all over social media. There's the full list. You'll find us there: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, of course, the website, www.leicestertillidie.com, for all your information and everything you need to know on Leicester. Guys, it's been interesting. Quiet window still. Let's have a look at next Wednesday, and let's wonder. We're back for the next third edition of the show. Maybe we'll have some signings to discuss then. Who knows? Whatever you do, look after yourself. Keep it all things Leicester Till I Die. See you on Friday at 7 o'clock with the opposition view with George, the Saints fan. See you then, guys. Take care.
Hello, Matt Elliott here. Be sure to watch Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube. Follow all them social media platforms for the latest updates and news.
Strap yourself in because we're set up, switch.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.